When we get to the end of this film, we'll be halfway through this series of 42 films. If you've been watching since the first one, thank you for sticking with me. As it's impossible to explain everything instantly, all at once, it realistically has to happen step by step, which takes time. Too many people merely flit about like a demented butterfly that's lost its way and hit its head against a tree, dipping in and out of various sources of so-called wisdom or teachings, usually without singling out who's really worth listening to and who's not. Anyway, we're going to cover quite a bit in this film. We'll be looking at service before self, the 11th of our 16 key factors. And this is the one that makes all the difference between just using increased capability for yourself compared to the much bigger aim of making life better for all. As I've said before, the key factors are mostly unspecific. They can be utilised to gain increased capability in any area of life. Going back to my previous example, you could even use them to become a more effective and efficient bank robber, although I'm still not encouraging such criminal behaviour. But the key factor of service before self does make a distinct difference, as it goes beyond what a bank robber wants to consider, unless his name's Robin Hood. We'll also be examining why stuff won't make you happy, contrary to popular opinion. If I can show you why this is the case, you might be more open to serving others rather than merely indulging yourself whenever you can. In case you're watching this film in isolation, not having seen the previous ones, I should make it crystal clear here that there's no belief involved whatsoever. We're not religious, even though I'm using words like service and serving others. Our process for how to change your life is simply a matter of psychological attitude. Presidents, prime ministers, authors, singer-songwriters, scientists, social activists and others have urged service before self. It's even part of the United States Air Force motto: integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. And over 30,000 Rotary clubs internationally bring business people together for breakfast, lunch and dinner meetings with the aim and motto of service before self. In Sudan, you commonly hear the saying, "No thanks for duty." That said, the current and predominant trend is grab whatever you can and have fun. We're constantly bombarded with adverts urging us to buy this, that and the other. It's all going to make us feel happy. It might be the latest gadget, some fashionable item of clothing, food to indulge your taste buds that'll also make you super healthy, or an even more exotic holiday than you went on last year. You've bought so much stuff that they even try to sell you a bigger wardrobe to put it all in, or an app to make it easier to sell on what you probably should never have got in the first place. Service before self has never reached anywhere near its full potential, as it's been viewed as more of an add-on than a starting point. But nowadays, it's been well and truly buried under a heap of stuff and more stuff. Money isn't a bad thing. It's just an economic mechanism. It facilitates the exchange of goods or services. It's a unit of account, a standard measurement of market value, and it allows us to save, store and retrieve value. Unfortunately, it's been closely associated with the rat race. If you join in selling your soul, you'll get this amount of money at the end of the week, month or year. If you play the game and be a good sheep or trainee rat, you might get a promotion. More money. However much you get, you spend it on stuff, which you're constantly told will make you happy. Most people use one or more forms of distraction to help them get through, cope or avoid. It's sad, but true. The choice of distractions is endless and varied. There's comfort eating, alcohol and drug dependency, shopaholic tendencies, fascination with celebrities, frequent getaways, and much, much more. Acceptable pursuits can easily be twisted and taken to extremes when the motive is to divert attention. The obvious example being eating, when it turns into comfort eating. As psychological avoidance is everywhere, with everyone doing it, it's totally normalised, as I keep saying. Even the extremes are more or less accepted as part of society, when there should instead be loud alarm bells constantly ringing in our ears until these problems are solved. What should be seen as totally unacceptable has instead effectively been sanctioned, with the relevant authorities and professionals seemingly incapable of solving anything. So it's all superficially embraced, with alleged kindness, when it's actually cruel to let it continue unchecked. We need a deeper approach. Many people have occasionally thought, what's the point? Life without a deeper meaning and purpose can seem aimless or futile. You start a family, watch them grow up, seeing them do basically the same things. If you dare to step back, it resembles a mad merry-go-round. Unless you can see a better way forwards, it can get very uncomfortable staying with the perception that it's all a bit of a superficial farce. Most turn away, seeking comfort in another drink, cake, or shopping trip. An opportunity for change is missed rather than grasped. The hamster wheels keep turning. Everything stays more or less the same, appearances aside. There are endless choices for distraction, but no genuine alternative. Religion, philosophy and politics have all failed to deliver. But you can always spend your money on more stuff. And so it goes on and on. An authentic breakthrough seems as elusive or further away than rain in a desert. Materialism works and fills the emptiness, temporarily, therefore requiring frequent boosters. Buying stuff becomes a fix. You have to play with your phone and feel anxious if you're without it for a few hours. You listen to Becky on YouTube, that's me, going on about how avoidance doesn't work. She seems to talk sense, offering a glimmer of hope. But the film ends and it's back to the real world. Of course avoidance works. We'd go stark raving mad without it. Excuses, blame, laughing it all off, distracting the hell out of ourselves is all essential. Millions, billions of people prove it. The bubble of selfishness seems like a continuous loop or trap. It's hard enough to escape the rat race, let alone sort out your mind, overhaul your life with all the contradictions, insecurity and hypocrisy. Many have simply concluded that you can't, that you just have to make do. Enter service before self. Once you step outside of your smallness into a wider world, there's an opening up. Everything potentially changes. Taken to its maximum degree, there can even be a paradigm shift. Thinking of others beyond your circle of family and friends produces a different perspective, provided the thoughts are translated into action. Whereas this is true, it's a bit more complex than at first glance. It has to be matched with capability, doing your best to make everything real or whole. We're not talking about mere good intentions here. Transformation is something big. It has to be significant to be able to ultimately change the world. Service before self is essential, but it's only one of the 16 key factors. We view service before self in terms of need before want. Assuming you've got the basics sorted and you're moderately capable, you put some particular need ahead of what you want. On a superficial level, need before want could be applied to your own self-orientated life. You prioritise some tasks that must be urgently accomplished, focusing on getting the job done. This is fine as far as it goes, even useful. But this application of need before want isn't service before self. There are many needs beyond yourself which should be urgently addressed, worthy of being given a higher priority, beyond your I want whims or desires. We worked as non-paid professionals in developing countries like Ethiopia and Sudan for 25 years because the absolute poverty was completely unlike anything we might label as poverty here in the UK. At that time, they didn't have the means to help themselves without our involvement. Similarly, we established Komsberg Wilderness Nature Reserve in South Africa, and we still manage it. because wildlife and the all-important natural habitats are under severe threat. It's a crisis, with nature getting more and more clobbered globally every year that passes. We needed to step in, to protect and conserve. We've reversed the decline on 30,700 acres of land, reintroducing wild animals that historically existed in the region, which are now flourishing once more. It's a duty, the responsible thing to do. You move beyond self-interest, eliminating hypocrisy, making life better in some way. It's much more than the tokenism of doing a little bit to help, if and when convenient. You serve endlessly. You give and give and give, doing everything that's necessary. It's no thanks for duty. It's the opposite of me, take, take, take. It's service before self, not me first. One for all for one sums it up. But there's a short or medium-term problem. It would obviously work fantastically well if everyone cared for and served everyone and everything else. But that's as far from being the case as it could be. When the first individuals begin doing this, really doing this, as we are, it might be seen as the mother of all uphill battles. You're giving and giving and giving when everyone else is taking and taking and taking. Superficially, this might seem a tad unfair, but actually it's not. You don't want to be a doormat, which would be wrong and probably a short-lived endeavour. So you have to be smart. I'm not talking about tirelessly fundraising for a cancer charity, for example, where the top staff are being paid a small fortune. This would be misplaced effort. You'd be spending your time inappropriately, doing something potentially good, only for it to backfire and be watered down by self-interest. We'll be returning to this sticky issue in a later film. Even when you've got everything sorted, it still sucks being a pioneer. You're a bit like a fish out of water. But we land animals emerge from the seas, so an evolutionary step forward might feel a bit strange at first, but it's the way forwards. The reality is that someone, a number of someones, have to be amongst the first pioneers. That's just how it has to be early on. And we're not saying it's a stroll in the park, but it's not that difficult. In fact, it's not difficult at all. It's duty. Service. You soon get used to it, and you no longer feel as if your life's pointless because you're far too busy getting on with what's needed. You sleep well because when you've got a spare minute, you know you're now using your life usefully. It's a healthy decision, even if you're currently in a tiny minority. But again, the future has to begin sometime. Someone has to be the first 8 to stand up tall on 2 legs and look around from a higher perspective. 24 was a groundbreaking TV series a number of years ago, avidly watched by millions. Each season, which takes place within a 24-hour period, there's a threat of real and immediate danger to others. Jack Bauer is the hero, an experienced operative with CTU, the counter-terrorism unit. He puts himself on the line, does whatever's necessary to save the day, sometimes at great personal risk or loss. Jack gets a reputation, even amongst those in the criminal underworld, of being the man who always does the right thing, no matter what. In one season, even when seemingly dying, having been exposed to a lethal dose of a biological warfare agent, Jack carries on, stoically insisting he wishes to make his few remaining hours matter. Yes, of course, this is just a fictional Hollywood character, but it points the way, illustrates that you need to do whatever it takes to get the job done, sometimes putting yourself last for a higher concern or cause. Well, it should point the way, although it doesn't seem to have changed the way millions of viewers live their lives. 24 has generally been seen as just good entertainment. Need before want, in the context of service before self, involves what can be seen as sacrifice. This word is usually associated with loss or forfeit, but it only feels like sacrifice when there's resistance to doing the right thing, when service hasn't been fully understood or properly embraced, there's still insufficient responsibility. To us, including myself, it's the appropriate way to be. You're balancing the books by giving back in a dysfunctional world where me first, take is doing so much damage. You become a willing tool. It's not about what you want any longer. You're out there in the bigger, wider world. There's an urgent need. You get on with it. And yes, I'm well aware that referring to someone as a tool can be used in a derogatory way. But I'm still happy to say you need to become a willing tool. You can improve the current meaning of a word. Before finishing, I'm going to stress again that this isn't about tokenism, bolting on a bit of caring or doing good whilst basically carrying on with your normal behaviour. It's not enough to just take less. You have to actively and persistently give back. And if there's a big problem, then it requires a big response. You wouldn't be impressed if you or a loved one had been in a car accident, badly injured, and a doctor or nurse only offered you a sticky plaster when you needed serious intensive care to get you back on your feet. There's a huge amount of suffering that needs sorting. We need to face this reality. As Jack Bauer said in 24, at some point we have to deal with the facts, not what we want to believe. So it's a fundamental shift of perspective that's required, a reorientation of your perception, thinking, feeling and action. It's service before self, one for all for one. You become fully engaged with a task or mission based on a bigger picture. There's commitment, big time. You're taking the first real step to move beyond the limited perception of separateness, beginning to understand that we're all interconnected. Okay, that'll do for now. We've reached the halfway point in this series of films, which is good, but there's still a lot to think about and act upon in the second half. We're next going to look at the subject of appropriateness and preferences, a healthier alternative to the usual I want more of desire. And it nicely follows on from what we've just been talking about, perhaps answering a question or two that might have popped up. I hope you'll join me for that one very soon.